Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's case is one that started as a routine domestic dispute but ended in a horrifying discovery. What began as a call about a simple custody issue on a quiet afternoon in Fresno turned into one of the most shocking crime scenes in the area. This is the story of the 2004 Wesson Family Tragedy, a case that left an entire community reeling. Stay with me because the twists in this story will leave you speechless. It's one of the most infamous murder cases in Valley history, a story that sparks dark memories with the mere mention of one name, Wesson. On the afternoon of March 12, 2004, Fresno police officers were dispatched to a modest home at 761 West Hammond Avenue. The call described nothing more than a custody dispute, a common domestic matter they expected to settle quickly. When they arrived, they found family members in the yard, shouting for their children to be released. The tension was palpable, the voices urgent, but it still seemed like something that could be resolved with calm words and patience. Then the shouting stopped. A silence fell over the street. Neighbors who had gathered outside remember hearing what they believed were sharp cracks echoing from inside the house. Moments later, the front door opened. Standing there was Marcus Wesson. His clothes were stained, his face calm, almost detached, as if he had just finished an ordinary task. Without resistance, he stepped forward and allowed officers to place him in handcuffs. But what they discovered when they entered that back bedroom was unlike anything Fresno had ever seen. 9 lives were gone, stacked in a room that also contained coffins. The youngest was just a 1-year-old. The oldest was 25. Every single victim was connected to Marcus Wesson by blood. And while the police secured the scene, one truth became immediately clear. This was not just a tragedy born of sudden violence. It was the devastating climax of years of control, indoctrination, and secrets hidden within a single family. It was the worst mass killing Fresno had ever seen. But the story of how this family got here is even more disturbing. Before we dive deeper into the tragedy, let's take a look at the man at the center of it all. Marcus Don Wesson was born on August 22, 1946 in Kansas City, Missouri. He was the first surviving child of Benjamin and Carrie Wesson, a couple already marked by hardship. Marcus's mother was deeply religious, raising her children in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. His father, on the other hand, was an alcoholic with a violent temper who eventually abandoned the family altogether. From the beginning, Marcus grew up caught between strict religious discipline on one side and the chaos of neglect on the other. His mother demanded modesty and restraint. The family dressed plainly, ate a vegetarian diet, and never participated in the usual social activities of the neighborhood. Saturdays were reserved for worship, and the rules of faith were treated as absolute. Marcus later described his mother as a religious fanatic, but those beliefs shaped nearly every part of his childhood. Despite growing up in this strict household, Marcus stood out. He was intelligent and curious, but socially awkward. He had little interest in sports or parties. Instead, he developed an obsession with trains. At just 2 years old, Marcus could recall the placement of every song in his mother's stack of gospel records. As a teenager, he was impressively talented, building go-karts without instruction and even impressing a Stanford engineering professor. But despite his abilities, Marcus never graduated from high school, struggling to earn enough credits before dropping out. At 19, in 1966, Marcus enlisted in the U.S. Army, where he served as a medical corpsman in Vietnam. After returning to the U.S. in 1968, he found himself drifting. Without a steady job or direction, he eventually moved in with Rosemary Solorio, a divorced mother of 8 in San Jose. It wasn't long before Marcus turned his attention to Rosemary's 12-year-old daughter, Elizabeth. By 1971, Elizabeth gave birth to Marcus's son, and just 3 years later, at the age of 15, she married him. This would set the stage for the years of control, manipulation, and violence that would unfold within the Wesson family. By the late 1970s, Marcus and Elizabeth had several children. Over the next 2 decades, their family grew, and Marcus's grip on his children tightened. He began to preach his own twisted version of religion, calling himself God and treating his family as his chosen. His daughters and nieces were subjected to physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. The children were raised in isolation, removed from public schools, and forced to adhere to Marcus's doctrines. He told them they were chosen to be his future wives, manipulating them into accepting his control under the guise of divine destiny. As the years passed, Marcus's ideas became even more extreme. He wrote his own handwritten Bible in which he claimed Jesus was a vampire and that he himself was the chosen savior. He told his children that their sole purpose in life was to serve his vision of God's plan to populate the world with more God's children. By 2004, Marcus had expanded his family to the point where there were over 20 people living under his roof. He had moved the family into a home at 761 West Hammond Avenue in Fresno, a property that wasn't even zoned for residential use. The family had become notorious in the neighborhood. Neighbors noticed coffins in the yard, and some of Marcus's daughters and nieces began to break away. Sofina Solorio and Ruby Sanchez, both nieces, had escaped the family's clutches, but their children remained under Marcus's control. On March 12, 2004, Sofina and Ruby went to confront Marcus. They demanded that he release their children, but Marcus refused. As the argument escalated, emotions ran high. What started as a dispute for the children soon turned into a spiritual battle, with accusations and insults flying between the family members. They had all been shot with a .22 caliber pistol. The gun was found next to Marcus's oldest daughter, Sabrina, suggesting she may have been involved in the killings. But the question remained, was Marcus directly responsible, or had he orchestrated the murders through his years of control? Marcus was arrested and later convicted of 9 counts of first-degree murder and 14 counts of sexual crimes involving his daughters and nieces. His defense claimed that Sabrina had carried out the killings, but the prosecution argued that Marcus had created the system of control and abuse that led to the deaths. In 2005, Marcus was sentenced to death. He remains on death row at San Quentin. The house on West Hammond Avenue was eventually torn down in 2006, but the emotional scars of the Wesson family's tragedy still linger in Fresno. This case serves as a chilling reminder of the power of control, manipulation, and the devastating consequences of unchecked authority. So what do you think? Was Marcus Wesson the mastermind behind these deaths, or was Sabrina truly the one who pulled the trigger? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more true crime stories. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one.